p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Welcome to Drive Time Exchange. As rubber hits the road, hard talk meets great music. Monday to Thursday, 4 to 6 p.m. on Net Radio, taking you above and beyond.
Band is the Vibrations International. We want to introduce you to a brand new musical song called Soca, the soul of Calypso. This is our own creation, and I hope you like it. I want to show you how it is all structured. It begins from the bass drum, and I'll call on my drummer, Paul Rouse, to get in there with that heavy sound. And then I say, Paul, put your heads on, and this is what happens. Oh yes, that's good, that's good. And Paul, take a side. Let's build this song. Oh yeah, good song. And then I call on my percussion player, Timothy Watkins and Anthony Charles on the congas to fit in and get the groove going. Oh Jesus. To build the bass, I want Frank Holder on the bass. Good song, fellas. This is soca music. The band leader, Frankie Kalinda. Come on in with your piano. Yeah, 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 yeah. And then I call my guitarist, Junior Wow. Strum it low, Junior, yeah. This is soca music. Now we need Septimus Alexander and Hazel Brand on the horns. Horns! Come on home. Good song, yeah. The Vibrations International. Music for days and extra days. Soca. Yeah. Good song. Heavy music. Listen, we need some voices. Girls, sing after me. Sing after me. Yeah, 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 yeah. The voices of Phyllis Joseph, Gail McQueen, and Joy Eccles. Then take it now. Take it, boys. That's good. Woo. Let's do it one more time. Yeah, 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 girls.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Sing it out. Horns, play for me. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Soca music, the best thing in the world.
Okay, everybody, good day to you, and of course, welcome to your Drive Time Exchange. And of course, you are here on New Era TT Radio, the heartbeat of the Caribbean, taking you above and beyond on this fine Monday afternoon. Yeah, all of a sudden, we just got that heavy shower of rain coming down a few minutes ago, just to keep the place nice and cool. But of course, I said this is the Drive Time Exchange. And this is where we are joined by journalist extraordinaire and showing off all his extraordinary talents in between this space here. Mr. Tony Fraser, good day to you. Check your mic.
Sorry. Yeah, good day to you too, Charlo. And you're right, a big, more than a drizzle has come down in my part of the country. As you say, keeping things cool and nice. Charlo, you introduced the subject for today, and it's really going to be the subject for the Calypso History Month. We have come a little bit in front of Calypso History Month. We don't want too many Mondays to go by without engaging, so that we've started on the last Monday of September.
Yeah.
And we're going to October, which is the Calypso History Month. And I thought in conjunction with one of our guests, we should do a little bit of, looking back at the soca and looking back at it coming into existence. And in addition to Zeno Constance, who is the man who will supply the music, we have one of the arrangers, the musicians with us, who was there at the start of the soca coming in to the limelight, as it were. And of course, everyone knows him very well. Pelham Goddard. Welcome to the program, Pelham.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So as I indicated, the intention is to highlight the music The music coming into existence, what, mid 1970s, 1975, Shorty coming forward, and then a whole range of soca artists and musicians coming in thereafter. Zeno, you supplied this first piece of music, so let us hear something about it before we go to Pelham to hear about the musical elements of it.
Right. Welcome. Honored to be in the presence of a legend, Mr. Goddard. Never thought I would ever be so close to a man who know the music. Let me just say a kind of cop-out first. I have no musical nothing, but I had lectured at UE for about 10 years, 10, 11 years, and the third day of the course, so the fourth day, we do soca. And that's why I supplied that list, because what I normally do is, or normally did, was look at soca as a three-pronged thing. Soca as concept, soca as name, and soca as music. And what I normally used to do was start way back in the 1930s and looking at the concept. That means people searching for a new musical form, a new up-tempo way, a younger way to pellet out the music. And I normally used to play for my UE class, King Radio singing the rhythm they want. Now, let me just say this and get back to you, Tony. Sorry about that. Let me take an extra minute here. In the rhythm they want by a radio, and radio was perhaps, they say, the first of the Chantwells, the first of the Calypsonians, who abandoned the standing mic, the standing position, and would move up and down the stage right to stage left, right? Trying to get and because he worked on the docks for a while, he would inculcate those memorable musical folk songs into the calypso. Well, at least what he and his brother used to write, and he became to me the epitome of a person back in them times, searching for the music to be a little different out of the call and response, Santi-Manite, the double tone, the thing that Executor kind of introduced, that kind of thing. He would come and make it a musical thing. And people would tell him, unknown is on record of saying, well, where you going up and down the place? And he wouldn't stay quiet in one place. Mm-hmm. Right? And then, later on, Kitchener would come and he would do things there too, and then Sparrow and so on. So that's what I got out of the way to look at how, I don't know what they're going to play today. I have that song there, but I just say that used to be my normal starting point as a young musician, talking to the class and saying, listen, there's a concept there of trying to get a new music, and that's what soca ended up being. Not this mysterious, magical thing that you try to make it out to be as some kind of thing that nobody knows nothing about except Shorty. But that's another story. That's for later. That was my introduction.
Okay, good. Pelham, that's an interesting start. And what I hear Zeno saying is that the soca and whatever else was building for some time from the original. If you go back to the 30s with Attila and Tiger and so on. Mm-hmm. Is that how you see it?
Well, I know for sure that artists was experimenting in all those times too. You're going to the studio and doing different things. Clyde Bradley, Party on the Block. Then it had people like Michael Bootman, and they were doing things in the studio. And different people were doing things in the studio. Because remember from the combo days, the combo was playing the music of the day, which is the American pop. And everybody was on that kind of thing. But when we get a chance to go in the studio, we realize that, look, we have to do our own music to be able to come out to the world, Because it's not just covering an American tune in a calypso tempo or whatever, or classical piece of music in a calypso tempo. So people were experimenting all kind of different rhythms, and we went East Indian rhythm, we went Shango rhythms, we had all kind of different rhythms at the time. So the search was there all the way. you know.
Right. So the music didn't fall out of the sky on one particular day, but rather a series of experimentation along the way.
Well, I would say, I know I'll might get linked to this, but I remember when we went to rehearse Shorty's album, I think it was 1995, 75 or 76 album, and we had Tobas, a drummer. We had people like Johnny Blake, Angus Snood, myself, and we started off with a groove, you know, that, like coasting, we'll say like coasting in our studio then, warming up. And that warming up session was growing into a part because long time, at that time, musicians will go and have sessions in a band room. So we are accustomed doing our own thing. Like out of the blue, you will come up with a groove, and it worked out that Shorty at that time, I don't know if it was, he is coming to do that same endless vibration song, and then he heard the rhythm, or he might have had the idea before. But I remember him coming with a tape recorder, a big boombox, right? And he recorded everything that took place in that rehearsal, and he built from there. So, but before that, as I say, there was a lot of experimental things going on in the studio with musicians. And I talking about down at, before I even played studio, it was International, Letty Samaru International Studio down in Sealot, before KH, and people were doing things all the time.
All right. Okay, so we take it from there, and I think what we can conclude from both speakers is that yes, experimentation was happening for some time, and I suppose it's natural if you have a musical form. And I am no musician, so I'm just using logic in the sense. If you have a musical form that has been existing for a long time, sooner or later, musicians will start experimenting and looking for something different over a period of time. Is that correct, Pelham?
Yeah, because if we go back from 1974, remember Shadow at Bassman? That was a whole different kind of calypso. Because bass wasn't playing no melody. Bass was just playing lines that will accompany the chord line. And Shadow came up with pam 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 pam, which the arranger didn't want to do because he figured it was sounding like a guitar. He didn't want the bass to sound like a guitar playing, And Shadow insisted that he wanted that, and that came out. Then remember Kitchener sing Stanley Abbott with a different kind of beat. Stanley Abbott, different beats and things, and everybody is trying different things all the time. Not aware that look, one day something will come out that we will have to call a name. Even they have no name. Everybody experimenting things.
Right. All right. So Sir Charles, let's go and hear the initial endless vibration. And remember, of course, we have to talk about Maestro and his intervention. But let's go with Shorty's piece first, endless vibration. And I remember well how it changed up the environment. I was a young fella then, I could go to party and so on. And it was a whole different scene when we heard endless vibration. Over to you, Charlo.
Change the accent of carnival to a groovy bacchanal, wearing, expressing the old feeling. Tune is changing. Wake up, people, examine your minds. Get with it, the change of the times.
It's a new generation, endless vibrations. Right on, right on, right on, right on. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hit the horns. Come, baby, oh baby, come. Come, baby, oh baby, come. It's carnival time. It's carnival. Change your musical structure, make it super sweeter. Tuesday morning, when we wake, bring on this funky feeling. Uptight, uptight, feeling so fine. Come on, come on, come on, let the music take your mind. Get with the feeling, it's so exciting. Right on, right on, right on, right on. Horns.
Okay, endless vibrations, Tony.
I'm looking at Pelham and the years seem to flow back in
No.
your head, man. Tell
No,
us.
because I listened to my piano there.
Yeah.
Right. It's the strum that the piano used in the minor part. But that's talking to the minor, right? And that was in a kind of pop strum, like they used to in did pop and funky music, you know.
Mhm.
And then the bass line, there's a bass line at the top of it. But it's not the first time that California singing a minor.
Mhm.
That's the next thing too, you know.
Minor was a big key
Minor
back
a
in the
big
20s. Yeah.
right. They singing minor all the time. But that have flavors in it that kind of a multiple kind of let's just say rhythmic flavors in the song, in the strumming, the guitar, the bass, the drum set, you know, and that is what the difference in that song.
What was the feeling like amongst the musicians in the band?
Well, the feeling was like something um like a vibe, like the young people say a vibe, a kind of vibe. You know, everybody was happy, everybody was joyful, everybody was thinking of playing something else. Um, Other than how the Calisto was going in a major key, and this is a minor key, a different kind of minor key with minor and seven chords and all these kind of things. So they just feel like if they're playing a pop tune, or like adding a pop feeling to it, or the soul. That's why you call it the soul of calypso.
Right, right. What was the reaction like between Shorty and the band? Was he saying something to you all? Said, this is a new thing that I'm experimenting with, and I
Well,
want to hear it. Whatever. What was the
well,
interaction like?
he never named it until it was completed. When it was completed and the studio asked him, that music song different, what we going to call it? He said, the soul of calypso. So he called it Soca. But before that, it was only experimenting, and that take a lot of overdubs and going to the studio. The percussion section went by itself and all. Different kind of beating percussion and all that. And he was working all Christmas and not Christmas Day, but Boxing Day and thing into that studio, into that song. Um, so the feeling of Shorty was, and then that was overdubbed. It was the days when all the bands would play one time. We overdubbed the horns at the next day, you know. And yeah, so when the first of the rhythm play was the guitar, the bass, the drums, and the piano. and I think and he overdubbed the percussion.
Zeno, your reactions. What do you remember about your reactions to the music?
Well,
All right.
oh,
Sorry.
when I go to the
Yeah.
studio and I
Look,
kind of play, I just enjoy myself playing. You know.
Yes,
Yeah.
Zeno.
All right. Yeah. I was saying that I was about to say a couple of things. That endless vibrations, obviously soul and calypso. I mean, in retrospect, Shorty will say things later on, but you'll hear it. I mean, if you listen to it, you could hear the huge corporations doing the rock the wood, do rock the wood, baby, rock the wood.
Well,
You could hear that kind of thing, and yeah, I mean, you could hear obviously he was playing with the soul music, and then later on,
yeah.
and so on. I just want to make a point before we go on, because I, I think I began by talking about people experimenting, and I think too much time we forget that failed experiments are part of the wait the word, I forget the word. The 2 step forward, 1 step backward kind of movement. And sometimes we forget about the input of like Bryna doing Calgary, mixing Jamaican music, and definitely Wellington, new calypso music. And in new calypso music, Wellington was extremely conscious of what he was trying to do. It didn't turn out to be what we know now as soca, which are coming to. But he was aware. I mean, he called it by a name, new calypso music. He put more space, Sarah Maje. He put the emphasis on the bass line, and even called it shucks, you know, a new something in the music. I forget what he named it. Discipline right now, but that was his name for what would be what later on we will call soca. And yeah, I mean, so the word soca will have come out of soul and calypso. I don't know.
Yeah.
Shorty mentioned that. I think they say Ferreira was the one who hearing endless vibrations and hearing Shorty saying soul calypso. Say, well, so and soca, soca the word which came out of that. And there's an interesting thing about this for later on. You know, that is, was it a mistake, an error, an unfortunate error to give it a name? I had that in my mind at the time, and then suddenly, and do some more research, I realized Luther had said that even before me. If you had left it as calypso, it would have just be, faster calypso, sweeter calypso, up-tempo calypso, and we would not have had now this obvious chasm between what we think is two totally different musical forms, which is not. One is just piece of the other one kind of way, but yeah, that's, that endless vibration kind of introduces it. But people were experimenting. I mean, one of the things Tony mentioned was Maestro. But Maestro and Shorty was too close not to have give and go going on between them in terms of things. In fact, if you listen to Maestro's tempo, I'm convinced that line in Maestro's tempo is a dig at Shorty. Well, certain lunatics playing Indian music.
Yeah.
He was playing that, playing Shorty for his infiltration of the use of the little Indian rhythms in it, which Maestro wasn't seeing, but not necessarily disagreeing with. When he looked at the Maestro story, he wasn't totally against. I think Maestro recognized what Shorty was doing as one thing, and he was doing something else, and they were together live in the Royal Castle on a Sunday morning and exchanging ideas and, and borrowing calypsos, so on and so on, and rhythms and all that. Yeah, so vibration kind of brings us here.
Yeah. What I remember as a listener, a party goer, and I remember one, as vivid as if it were yesterday, that this music was completely different. It had a life that did not exist before. Well, as he talked about it in the song itself, a kind of pulsating rhythm and feeling. And it set my generation surely kind of crazy that we were getting something, adding something, not taking away from calypso in any way, but that we were adding something to it. So let us go now, Charlo, to Maestro, and we will hear from Pelham was deeply involved in Maestro's early recordings and the soca and all of that, and he will tell us about the technical details of that. So let us go to something from Maestro. He will tell us about the technical detail.
We can't play for the old folks all the time. In this day, keep the young people in mind, in mind. We can't leave one to please the other. I believe we could be together, together, people. Yeah, soca, soca music. Yeah, soca, soca music. So, soca, soca music. Yeah, soca, soca music. A new beat, modern day vibration, a complete new revolution in motion. Discreetly, tender loving splendor, a beauty, joy forever and ever. Soca, soca music, yeah.
Okay, there, Tony, the Maestro, soca music.
So it's not as popular as Shorty's Endless Vibrations, but nevertheless one of the early efforts. Pelham, tell us about this piece. Was it
Well,
Maestro's first soca piece, or did it come after?
I think that might be after Shorties. But what we're listening there to is that the tones, the tonal quality of that music, right, is like what we was hearing with the American pop music at that time, the minor beat and the disco kind of feeling. You hear it get from the bass and the guitars and all that. That was more element in the song then. That was put into the music. Now we have to remember that in those days, the disco, was, a lot of discos was out in Trinidad now, right? And you want your music to play at the disco or the clubs, I must say, and we went for that kind of sound that the disco and the music will have to generate. You see how we start with, you can't play for the old folks all the time. You have to keep the young folks in mind. Now that's what they was hearing on the radio. So we try to inject that kind of feeling into that song, And then my show, he like a lot of rock music and so funky music and stuff too. And he might have his ideas. Plenty of that is Marshall's ideas, what you will hear, you know, bass lines and stuff. Maestro was a kind of complete kind of composer. When he composed a song, he hearing all the background music, most of it behind him. So what we are doing is adding colors to what Maestro might feel to it. So the guitars will have a wah-wah and a chorus onto it, and the pianos will sing a certain way, the drum beat and all that, you know. He know what he wanted, you know.
So he was very involved in the music itself.
In the music itself, you will know what you want in the music itself. Because
Zeno,
apart from that, when he's singing Calypso, he will go to Adi Koto to do his Calypso for the 10th.
okay.
But he wanted to move off of that in a different level. That's why he come to me, and he wanted a whole different feel. So his music could play in a club or party somewhere, you know.
Okay. Okay, so he had definite intentions about the music.
Yeah.
Zeno,
Yeah, my show definitely, I usually had intentions, but even before this 76 to 77, my show was already played with that, you know. I mean, one rumor is that he went by Art and tell him play the mix. Crazy Hollis Miller, Lyman Body, Library Corner. Play that in the kind of, well, what was going to be called Soca. And I'd say, no, but if you listen to my show doing, the show must go on, right? Which is before the 77 Anatomy of Soca album. You're hearing some of the things that would come later on. So I think obviously Pelham is so right that my show was heading in a direction. He was experimenting. He was looking at up tempo the thing, and you could see a definite part between tempo, fiery, brimstone. You know how he, you know. And so, but I want to make a point about that too, because Pelham make a point about the disco, and I want to say yes, that whole soul funk disco feeling, it was there when people. If you go back to Funclair, and I think that's earlier 73, you know, Funclair. All right, let me put it this way: Funclair get a name because they were the corner of Fun Rose and Clare Streets in Sando, Funclair. But when they started to play with this heavy funk, and at time I think they had 2 chop sets in the band, and when they dropped Lou Donaldson's Caterpillar for Juvenile Morning, the fans used to call them Funclair because they were hearing all that inside. That what was to become a kind of, again back to the word, a soca-rise kind of music, right? That kind of thing playing on the funk music. You know, you could almost hear Sly and the Family, Cool and the Gang playing inside there. And that, well, I don't know the musical term, you know, a kind of dong beat, you know, and he could play in there. And my show was going for that too. You know, trying to get a music that could play all year round. Experimenting with something that could, and as Pelham correctly quotes there, you know, looking for something that could capture the youth. Like, you have to keep the youth in mind sometime. Because the youth is. Let me just finish with this piece. In 1973, Carnival Day, and now leave school. So I had the age showing there, and now leave school, and I go to teach in Thomas Aquinas. And that carnival, I woke up, the parachute onto the coffee, and on the coffee, just by the Susuma churches there by Grand School, had a million. Hyperbole, of course. Plenty young people. But like me, I was young that time too, but I was not dancer. Dancing in the street to brother bass, playing James Brown music. And therefore, such was the power of that music, right? That is at Carnival Day, they would go to it, and it's obvious that the music, the rock, funk, soul, disco, would infiltrate the calypso. Maybe I don't know how you can call it, but it would influence what the calypso could see making new songs. And after my show hit, you could hear in Mudada and Merchant and others from the 70s, before we even get to the 80s, before we even get to, you know, I don't want to talk shadow, hear a different kettle of fish. You could hear that my show kind of, you know, if you listen to Mudada singing for whatever, which Quinta tell me is a Maestro Calypso, by the way, written by Maestro. You could hear that, So you could all them different forms get into the Calypso somewhere there. Very interesting thing.
Pelham, was there a deliberate attempt to be influenced by the American music of the period?
Yeah. American music have influenced a lot of musicians in Trinidad in the earlys. We remember we went through the Beatles, we went through even Frank Sinatra, and all these pop things was happening. Sly and the Family Stones, Gladys Knight and the Pips, and we had what we call Soul Train at the time. When Soul Train play in the morning, by the evening musician learn all the tunes that they hear on Soul Train. Yeah. So we know the movements and chords of what the soul music people will do, and we try to fit that in the calypso then. When we go to play calypso, we try to fit those chords inside there.
Yeah. What was there? I suppose there's for the sociologists. Was there a link, a sociological link, a brotherly, sisterly link between Black American music and what was happening here in Calypso?
No, well, they had people who were listening to Riot and those white groups also too. So Maestro, they like that. They like rock. He like rock music too. We listen to, you talk about Trinidadians in music, we listen to everybody from Jimi Hendrix to Sly and the Family Stone. From, everybody we listen to, and you try to fit what we heard. Like all they said of wah wah and then the instruments came with things too. Guitars would have wah wah and chorus, box and all kind of thing like that.
Chalo, let's get one of Maestro's more popular pieces, fiery, all kinds of things. Anyone you choose.
Just give me 1 minute, Tony?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right, so just to indicate our listeners and our viewers.
Yeah, I mean, maybe while you're looking for the music there.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's obvious that as a satellite for America, everything that come out of America, if you go to the 50s, you see that do up. Here is Parodian and
Butters and all of those.
Yeah, the chorus. And you heard him earlier from Lion's influence in Chick to Chick dancing and the four Mills brothers and experimenting back in the day. Yeah. So much so that Attila used to tell him, take care crossover and care cross back. So every time a musical arrive from the US, we would jump in.
Yeah.
We would try to get in theater to make it not so much part of us, but to feed up the popularity of it. And as a kind of to reach the younger people. All right, cool.
A generation before that, the jazz artists are here.
Oh yeah, Kitchener still that. Yeah, we did Kitchener, the jazz, bebop, Kitchener, bebop song, and everything. Yeah, they're always there, man. Because we small, all right, we good.
Yeah, we're good. Fiery.
They asking everywhere how I come in next year. What kind of calypso? Is it fast or slow? While I working hard to come up to standard, they wonder it how I coming on strong, so come on. Like the temperature in a storm, when you find the place getting warm, it's dynamic musical pace, everybody shaking their waist. That is how I come in. Mama, me ain't joking. Me afraid nobody. Watch me raging in the heat, rampaging in the street, with a tune to beat, tune to sing, in the street, thing to swing. Heat. telling me now and then, sing one of your new hits, we want to hear it. I had to refuse, had to make an excuse, can't make one note. I have such road coming on strong, so down, like the temperature in a storm. When you find the place getting warm, it's dynamic musical pace, everybody shaking their waist. That is how I come in. Mama mia choking. I ain't afraid nobody. Watch me raging in the heat, rampaging in the street, with a tune to beat, tune to sing, in the street thing to swing.
Okay, Maestro fiery there.
Go ahead, Pelham.
You heard of the piano strum in that song? That can enter the bass and the beat. That is what will make that song go. The next thing, you see, each song that our arranger arranges, it has some kind of influence on how they want it to come out. You know, my show want tempo in that song because that song fast, and that time, right? Right. So in order to keep the tempo of that song, the piano had to strum a certain way, the bass had to play a certain way, and everything had to, everything had to mesh. So that's the whole next thing about talking about. Now you can term that as soca now. You know that? The way we call that a soca beat. Because it's about it's a different culture calypso. You know?
Yeah. Pelham, tell us something about Maestro. Maestro didn't, well, as far as I'm aware, didn't have a long build-up history. He kind of just came on the scene and broke in a significant kind of way. Your early encounters with him and attempting to arrange the music. Tell us something about that.
No, I met my show in the tent. I play in the Calypso tent in Kitchener tent. I play bass in Kitchener tent. 1976, I think, yeah, thereabout. And that when my show song, I think he sung Mr. Trinidad, and he was getting all these encores. And either that or Black Identity, one of those two songs, right? And you get a lot of encores and things, and we will go backstage and congratulate him and all that. And then after we get close, because he used to come down to the studio, in KH studio, Ellis Chowlin is to record him, give him his first album, that Tempo album. The Koto play, I play on that too also. So we get very close, and then we start always talking about the music being, though the main thing was to get the music in the clubs because the disco was happening, right? And people will go to the discos and so on, right? But they come in the tent to hear my show Carnival time. But after Carnival, what is going to happen, you know? So he wanted to get the music out there as a thing. And when we were forming Charlie's Roots, my show was also to be our singer at Charlie's Roots before. Yeah. Because we have the album came out with in 1977, right? And we covered some of the songs too, and we were going head and head with my show. So we'll start a tour at summertime when we came out to Canada and all this. My show would have been one of our lead singers, you know.
Okay.
But it didn't happen that way because he get it like But my shows are very good, you know. He used to come when he come down to he live and work. I think he work looking in South. Right? Come down after work and hang out with Ellis Chowlin and myself. And we talk music. You only talking music. What do you like to see about the music happening? You know? And he will have books. My show had copybooks on top of copybooks or songs that he didn't have time to finish. Our
Yeah,
record.
yeah, Tony, no, you said that's not as if Maestro suddenly appeared. But actually, Maestro was around in the calypso thing since the end of the 50s.
Yeah.
But there's a period in Maestro life that is unrecorded. For instance, we know it's in the end of the 50s because in terms of research, and in 63, 64, he did that double 45, Concert at the Hall and Great Invention and Arabian Nights and so on. And then he disappeared off the recording business. He didn't record. But Maestro was writing many calypso between
He was writing it.
the 60s before he gets into the 70s. In fact, you know all the rumors that Maestro would write 16 calypsos for the year and he would give 14 away to the people in the Peninsula competition and still beat them. In fact, I learned, because of that effort there, I learned about a fella called Bush from Laramine. And he was the premier ghostwriter for the fellas in the South, these Southern Calypsonians, for a while until Maestro take over in the 60s. Now, I don't know what made Maestro not record anything else after that 63, 64 thing. BG Crisis was the fourth calypso there. So between 64 and when he recorded, but not even when he recorded, when it was recorded for him in 74, I think, Mr. Trinidadian, which I think Rocky did later on. There's a whole 10-year gap. Maestro writing many calypsos for people, including Shorty. I mean, Toka and Dagger, Tuesday Morning, what do you call the other one? All these calypsos that people were singing, Shorty, Surpriser. I mean, everybody from South, Prospector, our hero guy, all of them was just singing Maestro calypsos, and Maestro just did not record. So now, I'm talking about the copybook, and that's an important thing. My take is that the copybook didn't disappear. And maybe after the break, I'll talk more about that for what I hear. But the copybook was an important thing, that he had many calypsos in the book. And unlike the Beans who would come later on, the Beans had come with cassette when Maestro had a copybook. There are many stories about that book and what was in the car when he died and what Ellis take during the week and what I suspect he didn't know about still, and so on and so on. But yeah, Maestro was around a long time on it. And also remember something I didn't know until I researched Maestro. Timmy Breads, who died now, but Louis Regis did his book on Maestro. That he was a pan arranger for free French. And that's an interesting thing. Arranging pan music must mean something in terms of the musicality, I think. And Kinte is trying to convince me that Maestro so like movies that a number of his calypsos, To Serve With Love, Cher, Baradic Man, were taken from titles of movies. And I plan to do all the research on it one day and do something on that, maybe on social media. Anyway, I know we don't talk too much. But that was just the answer when you say Maestro and Pelham start around 75, but Maestro around a long time.
When you say Maestro wasn't recording it, it was a matter of probably looking for a producer.
Yeah. I went out. I don't know the reason, but I mean, it was unfortunate because the record kept it alive. For a lot of people, if he had those records, we could have known what he was thinking before he sings P.D. O'Malley and, and Jake and Blake and everything, which were the first set of records, 45s, around 75, somebody. Unfortunate, but we do know, some of the songs Maestro write, and we are convinced that Maestro write Fine Winaga from Princeton and Shake a Battle like Mr. Prospect and Slave and things that Sparrow do. And some of them, Maestro was so prolific. And now we find some of them, right? Because the young brother was talk and make some points about what we're hearing. Maestro, let me just say this last thing about Maestro on this point here. They say people respected Maestro's writing so much that Maestro would be lying Sunday morning in Royal Castle. He Shorty, Squibby, others. And Maestro would write something and scribble on something, lines on a paper. And he said, he like it. And he roll out the paper and threw it in the dustbin. And he turned it back, man, dive in the dustbin and take it and gone. Yeah. And they say Maestro, that thing he used to do also, he would give a man half a calypso. For a calypso, he give you a verse and chorus. And so when you pay, come up for the rest. So they couldn't write it for themselves.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Your older brother Alpha tell me about a story about a man who take a Maestro Calypso, bring it back and say, I want it again. When he reached the tent the next night, they see the man singing the Calypso as he honest. Anyway, let me just think. Let me leave for to continue before.
Let me ask Pelham if you know about the copybook story with Maestro.
No, well, I know about the copybook story when he brought it with tempo and stuff. But I don't know what happened after Maestro died, you know, with all his material and thing. I don't know what we
Yeah, well, as Pelham said, let me see. One of the stories is that Kinte told me that there's a fella coming from Barbados to buy some calypsos. And Maestro had to go out. And he tell Kinte, hold the book. When the fella come, take the money, give him these calypsos. Right? Them days they had no computer and thing. That is one. The second thing is Kinte tells me that the book of calypsos was on the back seat, that back ledge on the car, when he left home that fateful night. And thirdly, Kinte says that during the week, Ellis and them come and say, tell Maestro girl, we come for the music. And she get vexed and say, and at this time, no one handed the copybook of calypsos. So there's three things about that copybook of calypsos that existed. But I suspect it have more to it than that, and Kinte might know a little more about the copybook. But what Kinte said is that when he was 14 years or 15 years, he wasn't studying Maestro that much. He used to go by Maestro and Lime and look to teach the man fish in the fish pond and things. But he wasn't thinking, I could have copied down these things. And after he tell me a couple of calypsos, you know, that Maestro sing that he come over for me and sing a voice on me and I always promise and tell Kinte one of these days we have to sit down and talk for 2 hours and tape you. Because he was the go-between between Shorty and Maestro. Shorty would tell Kinte, hey, Kerry, tell Cecilla what tomorrow I'll to finish my album. And he would go by Maestro and tell him, and Maestro would say, what the hell I'm to Garfield at all? He Calypso big already, what you want mine for? And give him 2 Calypso still, make it 10. And then because Shorty recognized in Sparrow something that you want to make an album that sounds fresh. You can't do one composer on the album. You get other composers to get different things said. And I am convinced, let me make the last thing on this point, and I'm convinced that when the Fields came to town and started giving out, selling those early music to Blakey, Francine, and so on, that I have found a Shorty Calypso on Facebook that I'm sure that sounds so much like a Divine, that those short twist lines. You know, but Shorty was willing to experiment, and that's why he's willing to take songs from Maestro. And it's unfortunate that some people among Shorty family should give the impression that he never take none, and the fact he write for Maestro. Maestro writing 50 Calypso the year, he want nobody Calypso. He was that prolific. 50, that's what they reach. I mean, I once told us the GB, you know, I said, GB, write down your Calypso, you know, because one of these days, he said, yeah, copybook, I do 50 this year. So, and I know people writing 50. Anyway, go ahead, Tony. Let me just jump from there.
So gentlemen, we're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we go back to Shorty because we have done quite a bit on Maestro. We have to go back to Shorty and some of the other music that he produced over that early period of the soca. Over to you, Charles.
Good luck, God. They're asking everywhere how I come in next year. What kind of calypso? Is it fast or slow? While I working hard to come up to standard, they wondering how I coming on strong. Like the temperature in a storm, when you find the place getting warm, it's dynamic musical pace, everybody shaking their waist. That is how I come in. Mama, me ain't joking. Me afraid nobody. Watch me.
Your mid-morning just got better. Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The mid-morning mix and mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Join me, Brother David Muhammad, every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio, Powerful Radio. Join me to hear knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Tuesdays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
Life today, oh, all like yesterday. Friendship gone, leaving hate and scorn, yeah. Never living like stranger with neighbor. No love, sir, no love, sir, for one another. To unite people as one, to create a song, I hope it live on from generation to generation to generation. Sing, oh, shanty, oh, shanty, shanty, oh. Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnamuda, Chanti. Oh, shanty, oh, shanty, shanty, oh. Purnasia, Purnamadaya, Purnamewa, Washishiati, oh, shanty, oh, shanty, shanty, oh. La 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 la. This song you hear.
All right, so we are back inside the Drive Time Exchange on New Era TT Radio. People, remember you can listen to us all day, every day on newerattradio.com, New Era TT Radio on TuneIn. So you get us on your Alexa and Google devices. All right, so we are back inside of the Drive Time Exchange with Tony Fraser and, of course, his very special guest this evening. So it's back to you, Tony.
Yes, thank you very much, Sir Charles, and our special guest this afternoon, Pelham Goddard, musician, arranger, and Zeno Constance. He's a man of all kinds of things, lecturer, archivist, playwright, and everything you could think about the Calypso form. Pelham, this is, and Zeno, to me, a kind of crossover point for Shorty, or almost in between Shorty and Shorty.
In this song, you could hear the Indian influence very much, right? But what I think about the song too is it's telling a story also. You know, and if you take the as we say, the soul and put it in calypso, the soul music didn't have all that kind of story. The soul music was, let's say, like James Brown singing Hot Pants and all that. He didn't have no verse or no chorus or nothing like that. He had like riffs, they call that riff, he would sing. But this music here, it still have a story behind whatever rhythms that follow it, you know. You put the heavy Indian influence. You have the sitar, you have the dolak, and all that. Yeah, but when he sings, he's singing a story telling about what life is in about Trinidad and Tobago. You know.
Yeah. To me, as I said, it sounds like a crossover point in his whole philosophy on life. And if he was Shorty, the sweet man, the dancer man before, here was a different kind of vision of him.
Well, that was really the start. That was before Endless Vibration.
Mm-hmm.
I think that so that was the start of it. You know.
It was recorded afterwards. I don't know when he make it. But that was recorded. That was recorded later on. I think it was 78 or 77, 79 recorded. 79, I think. Yeah, 79 for Om Shanti Om. Yeah, but I think you're correct. At a certain point, moving from the glamour and when the poverty take him and the thing get bankrupt and going into the hills, he would go there. He and Robert Ali would make this one.
Who are the musicians playing? You played on this, Pelham?
I can't remember. I play on that one, but that is Edward's music.
Okay.
Yeah, that Edward. That was it's before. I think really this would be before Endless Vibration.
Yeah, he might have, but I'm gonna say
it might be 75.
Yeah, the recording came. It's on the 79 album, I think.
Yeah, he might put it there after, you know.
Yeah, that happened a lot of times in Calypso. People keep back things. Maybe he wasn't sure because Tolish sang a Calypso for me. In the tent that he had written for Shorty along these same lines. Afterward, Shorty didn't take it, so he sang it for himself, you know, because he kind of realized where Shorty was going when he hit that you know, it almost Pelham like George Harrison and the Beatles going to India and trying to and the bunks up. I forget the fella name now. Ravi Shankar.
Yeah, the youth.
Yeah,
of course, Shorty got some stick from elements of the Hindu community for singing this song.
Well, it wasn't for singing this song. I think they was worried about it being played on the road Carnival Day. And they felt that it would degenerate from a mantra, a Hindu thing to a road march thing. And Shorty decided to tell people don't play it. But of course,
when you put influences of instruments in our music, like how Tuba Blue get in trouble with Soca Baptist, with the bell, you know, the tonal quality of this song, of Shorty song, will influence, and they will really feel how with it, the people whining to that Carnival Day. you know.
Yeah, there was some. I remember the controversy very well. There was some conflict over him singing what they considered to be their spirituality. Shorty bringing this thing in Calypso. Chalo, another Shorty piece there. Let us hear the music, enjoy it, and talk about it.
Okay, I have to online it up here, but I have. Can I give you another maestro before I give you the Shorty?
All right. There we go with that.
But can I give you another maestro? This one isn't on the list, but it's one that I love from Maestro.
Too much the satisfaction in the competition. The judge's decision still bringing confusion. Men who know music may pick, but it is so degrading. I raise and all their music. I had a confrontment with the judges. I asked them if they bear in grudges. Certain bands we thought would place them up completely out of the race. They cheat, they want to see the score sheet. But the adjudicators say that they hear in tenors with tongue kicking brass, and all you're hearing is bass. Every man pass, it's bass and more bass. It's too much of boom bam boom bam, boom bam be dum, boom bam ba dum. Why after every contest is protest and commerce, holiness on the panel, still it a quarrel. Steel pan row, we done with that now. Although you see RGB, keep it in your pan peacefully. I had a confrontment with the judges. I asked them if they bear in grudges. Certain bands we thought would place they end up completely out of the race. They cheat, you want to see the score sheet. But the adjudicators say that they hear in tenors, return kicking brass, and all you're hearing is bass. Every man pass, it's bass and more bass. It's too much of boom bam boom bam, boom bam be dum, boom bam ba dum.
Yeah, Boom Bam there from the Maestro. One of my all-time favorite songs from Maestro.
Okay. Pelham?
What Maestro was doing there is he's trying to keep abreast of what's happening in the pan, in the competition, you know. And you know that people might be dissatisfied with results and all this other things. So, and say they cheat and all that, you know. So you're just keeping abreast of what's happening with the pan people and panorama, you know. But if you listen to all my show too, is that it must have a bass part. You know, bam 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 bam. You know, so in the soca, it's no different than taking that part and put it into a soca beat and like a groove, and you can make a whole song after that. Yeah, nowadays they will just sample. You can sample that part.
Yeah. Pelham, let me ask you a question there as you mentioned that, and I'm listening to the conversation, and you know, you're listening to these writers that are writing these hundreds of songs. How and then you as an arranger also, how difficult it is to come up with different melodies for all these different songs.
Arranger doesn't have to. The Californian does come with a melody. But what the arranger have to do is to come up with different ideas in terms of chord progression and beats and bass lines and stuff, you know. And it might be easy, you know, it like you won't get everything in one night and you won't get everything in 2 nights, but the third night things will come to you and you will know how to fit what you're fitting into the music that you have to do, you know. Or some people you could grab some manuscript paper and write some ideas down and all that, you know. But the melodies always come from the Calypsonian.
But how do you get a Calypsonian who's writing all these songs coming year after year? I am sure at some point in time, some of these songs that was even though the words might be different, that song like the song from last year or year before or 2 years ago.
Well, long time a Calypsonian used to have a guitar. He used to play a guitar, strum guitar, strum different keys, strum different chords, and he will make a next tune. That I see. I was around Merchant at one time. He was up in New York with us. He toured with Charlie Juice and stuff. And Merchant make about in half an hour. He must make more than 10 songs. Strumming his guitar and singing at the same time, and writing on what he had to write down. You know, half an hour he already has songs. So a Calypsonian who play guitar can make plenty songs at one time.
You know, sometimes I wonder where these things come from. Out of the blue, something falls into the mind, I remember Shorty saying that he was living nearby a stream, a river, and he went down one early morning. Something that was the cocaine calypso, Tyran or whatever the name is.
Watch out,
And
watch out.
yeah,
Watch out.
he said he went down by the river, the stream that was close to him, and the thing just fall inside of his bag
Right.
just like that.
Yes, yes, yes.
I
It's just
suppose
falling.
it could.
They say the good Lord will send that for you. A
Yeah,
melody.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It
Because
fall into your mind just so.
you might be driving and get an idea. You might be in the kitchen cutting up onion and you get an idea. Anyway, you know, and it come like you, anytime you go in the bathroom and you're taking a shower, all of a sudden you start to sing. You don't know where it come from.
Yeah. You know, as a writer, not writer of calypsos, writer, journalist. Sometimes I get up early in the morning and scribble something down before it departs from my mind.
Yeah.
So Chalo, you have something from Shorty now?
Yes.
Oh, give us another Shorty. That infuriated elements of the Indian community.
Yeah.
They felt that he was just going too far.
Yeah, but he's thinking about an Indian girl or something like that. So he had to sing that with that. If you were thinking about an African person, you would have put in African drums. You know.
So clearly, Zeno, I understand that he was from in the Princestown area, where there's a strong Indian Hindu community. I suppose those influences rubbed off on him at some point in time.
Yeah. I think more Malayalam down the road. But remember, Shorty was into Indian music and pop music when Maestro met him and brought him into calypso. So he was going down that road, yeah. One of the things I always want to correct though is people who want to give the impression that the first time they hear calypso with Indian influence was in Johnny 73. But I mean, people do it all the time. I mean, Sundar predates it. Killer have grinding masala at Killer and them, you know, Dictator, Munia, I feel like again my Indian girl Dukhani. We were experimenting with the Indian melodies long time. Obviously, in the early to mock and to get humor out of the Indian situation. But just, you know, using the obvious, and in fact, Shorty and all have done it before in 65 with Indian singers.
Yeah. That's an important one. That was before
So the Kaiso Indo mixture was there long time. Obviously, if people are here, you're going to experiment. People are going to turn and try. I think you might get booed the first time and say, where are you singing there? You know. So,
how did the musicians deal with the Indian intervention in the music? I take the point that it wasn't the first time, but
I for one, I grew up in the Tassa band. I grew up in Balma Huse. At the age 11, I was on a cutter of the Tassa already in Balma. So I know about all of these rhythms and so on in the Tassa.
Sorry, where did you say you grew up?
Balma in Clarence Street, Balma Huse Yard.
Okay. On Charlotte Street.
No. Clarence Street. Clarence Street is in St. James.
Clarence, St. James.
I grew up 11 Clarence Street, and the Huse Yard is number 2 Clarence Street. And we used to live down in that yard. We always down there, splitting Tassa, the giant, the bass, the everything. You know, and taking part in the Huse. So one person even said in an interview, I think David Rudder say, the reason why Pelham will win 20 Road March is because you know all the Huse beats. You know.
Was it normal for somebody like you to grow up in a Huse yard?
Well, my parents didn't really want it, but it was in the neighborhood. And the youth had a pass right in front of us to go up the road. You know. A matter of fact, I get a ringers a night, flag night, going up the road beating. And I just feel my mother it ring my ears and cry me back home. You know. That was embarrassing, but the music was in there already. You know what I mean? You know.
Of course, that didn't stop you from going the next time.
No, I end up with that. And all the people around there, they know where Pelham come from. You know, who says a piano, to bass, or whatever, pan. You know. So the influence of the musicians who playing in the studio and playing these things, they will know, or they will have a feeling of what kind of things to put in the music. You know, especially guitarists and bass, unless they write specific music for the bass. Because in those times, people were writing bass lines too. You know.
What was it like in the South, Zeno? You're from San Fernando?
Yeah, well, I grew up 100 yards away from the backyards of the indenture. Never knew it was there because that was in the 60s. Well, I mean the 50s I grew up. In the 50s and into the 60s. And we used to have Sunday school right in the middle of the people thing, you know. And some of the fellas would come across both to play cricket and football. And we just knew them playing and things. So when I got a big man, I realized, them houses, they were indented houses in the early, okay. You know. So, but I grew up in a place that was heavily Indo-African. My street would have 15 houses. 9 of them was Indian houses, you know. 7 of them would be African people next door to each other. So I hear the music and things, but I never get into it like how Pelham become a musician. I never get into music. And interesting enough, I just heard last week a song that I used to hear when I was 4, 5 years, 6 years. And I said, I said, what? It's still playing. You know, you hear the music playing with the neighbors playing the music in the evening and so on. But I never mean that not it because I never get into music. In fact, I was so far from music other than, you know, the little pop music I hear and the little calypso I hear. I like calypso from very young. But I wasn't even aware that in my primary school had a choir. I just stay far from them things. I used to go on and run, play football and things. So music never get me in that sense. Because I didn't know enough about it, I just end up in the historical part of researching and so on. But I mean, since you're not hearing Pelham songs, so much things I could learn. I learned that, you know, one time, all this influence and what the guitar will do and so on and so on. All I always know is music. You know, never get into it deeper. But yeah, Pelham teaching me a big thing, a real good thing, man.
Pelham from St. James, half of the population is Indian.
Well, yeah,
more than half.
That's over here, yeah.
Yeah, can I roti?
Can I roti, buddy?
Yeah.
All right, so Charles, some more calypso there. We have a little while to go again.
Yeah. And
let's some music.
Yeah, I'm as Zeno brought some songs in between here, so I'm very interested what is the story behind some of them. So let's deal with this one by Wellington.
Yes, happiness is here again. Calypso music from Port of Spain. Happiness is here again. Oh, calypso music from Port of Spain. So let me hear the bass man play. Oh, jump in the air, have no fear. Calypso music is here. I get your hands in the air, everywhere. Nobody there. New calypso music is welcome for everyone. Everybody jump in the room and do what they want to do. The weather down here is second to none. Every day you wake up, you got to see the sun. And when you drink up, you hold over.
And then the rhythm in your body, man, it's just like you're hearing drums. So make it funky, Toby. So jump in the air and no fear, calypso music is here. And then your hands in the air, everywhere, nobody everywhere. New calypso music is well fun for everyone. So everybody jump in the groove and do what they want to do.
Right, so that is Wellington New Calypso music. So I am curious as to what is the story behind this.
Well, the reason for that is that I teach when I was lecturing. I always made sure that was part of the repertoire because it was a failed, quote unquote failed, attempt at creating a new music. Wellington actually called this style Russo funk. Russo from the old Russo, Calypso, and funk, right? And I used to tease my students and say, if this had survived and succeeded, instead of saying Soca Monarch, we'd be saying Russo funk Monarch. But he was very conscious of what he was doing, right? He put the extra bass, he put the extra music in it. He called it New Calypso music, right? And called the whole thing Russo funk. And I think we don't give Wellington enough credit for searching. Because at the beginning, I said the search was always there. Search for younger music, for more something that the younger people would like. And you hear it inside it when he play the drums and say Toby, as well like Tobas. And so on. He played inside it knowing that this is what coming. And this is earlier 73. I mean, it predates what it coming out Soca. And I've heard that it could have been earlier 69. You know, and then later when you hear the rest of other Wellington, you know, Steel and Brass, Makata Party, and them things. You're hearing all that beautiful, funky kind of quote-unquote soca. So that's why I put that one inside as a kind of reminder. The people who feel that, you know, Wellington's sister, for instance, is adamant that he is the inventor of soca. I don't really share that. I don't believe in our inventor anyway. It was an input. It was for the cause, but I feel they must give some credit for trying to go down our road. And you know,
the only thing I would say really is you could hear he trying to bring something different.
Yeah.
In the old aspect of things, you know.
Yeah.
But the problem is in those days they didn't have a producer. Long time record producers. We weren't like the States where they have a record producer. The artists used to go in the studio and say what they want, you know, and that is was the whole difference. If we had a producer, it could have been produced in a way where it was more organized.
All right.
And you could find the music wasn't organized properly, you know.
Right. That's good to hear.
Wellington was trying to experiment, but he's trying to do that on his own. A producer will tell him, all right, the bass is playing too much, or this and that, or put the bass here, or play the drums here, and this and that. So, you know, when Shorty was doing his thing, going back to Shorty was acting as a producer.
Right.
Which is a different thing.
Yeah, I think people all experimented. You know, when I was arguing, discussing our time with our next man who Shorty was the only person who was thinking about it. I say, people experimented when U.S. Power singing, she's been gone, not too long.
Yeah.
Has everybody heard her number? He was playing with that American thing and trying to create, you know, something in the Calypso that would be different. Because Calypso, in a situation where is 6 weeks out of 52, according to GB, is a boring music, you know. When you're 14, 15, 16, when the season's done, you don't jump up to the Calypso, to the carnival thing. Yeah. You want to hear that again, you know. I think that was Maestro's great effort to find something that we could do. And not only here, I mean, we know Shadow did My Belief around that time, trying to say I could do this, and release it in the middle of July, out of the carnival season. That carnival season that has stifled us for years because we can't escape it. So
because of Lent.
The Lent factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Shadow song playing in clubs. That same song playing in clubs and so on. The disco.
Yeah, well, I'm saying, but to be brave enough to do it was
Yeah.
interesting, right? Because you know, carnival time, you get, January, February, March, and then that is it.
Yeah.
But and you so go to a boat to spend your money to make a record, my belief, and put it somewhere down in. But people, there were a lot of people made contribution there. Superior and the off season 10 to 76 and his Calypso musical from I think 80 or somewhere around. The people were always trying to say we could go there, and Kitchener and Stalin sing about this restriction about
Well,
Lent and Calypso.
It had an next part of that too. You see, after Carnival in Lent, the Calypsonians used to travel.
Right.
Right? So they will go up the islands. They will start in Grenada, they will go up St. Lucia, they will go St. Vincent. They go all about until they end up in summer, end up in New York. Even St. Thomas, St. Croix, and they will campaign all out there. And they will get ideas too. So when they come back to Trinidad, they might have Sasaye, Sasaye. That are idea that from out there. French.
Right. Right. And of course, as a little fella in school in Lent, you had to cut Lent, and
Yeah,
therefore
you had a cut Lent.
you can't sing no calypso until.
But Zeno, also you had something else in the track. You had this song by King Curtis. So I'm gonna play this and then we'll probably find out what is the link with that with the soca music.
We're going to tell you right now. Give me about a half a teacup of bass. Now I need a pound of fatback drums. Now give me 4 tablespoons of ballin' Memphis guitars. This gonna taste all right. Now just a little pinch of organ. Now give me a half a pint of horn. Place on the burner and bring to a boil. That's it right there. Now beat well.
Okay, so that is King Curtis with the Memphis Soul Stew. Right, Zeno, your mic is muted.
Well, a Calypsonian could, if it slow down the bass and the drums, with that the same line but slower, a soca singer or a Calypsonian could sing a soca on top of that.
Yeah, I was saying that that I used to use it in my lectures because that is King Curtis, what he could.
Yeah.
Charles began the program by playing vibration groove, which is the same thing. A pinch of this and a pinch of that.
Yeah.
To make the point that Shorty obviously was feeding off of the music of the soul music himself.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we tend to forget that. We tend to believe that Shorty was just doing Indo thing to create the soca. I think Shorty, in retrospect, doing damage control, made sure he talked about the Indo aspect because nobody could claim that in that 70s, but everybody else was playing, doing the soul funk kind of thing. I can get a Nelson self next time. You hear it from Merchant. All of them doing that influence of the American music.
I remember Shorty had an album where he had Ella Andel, Timothy Watkins, and when they produced that album, they toured America. They toured America and Canada
Yeah.
with that album, and they was playing to American audiences. Plenty of that. They went
Yeah.
all over.
That
You
was the
know.
reason for that King Curtis, the show. It predated Vibrations Groove.
Yeah.
So that influence on Shorty at the time.
Yeah. But we talking about soca at that time, but now the young people are seeing all of that as soca again. You know.
No. In fact, let me tell you what.
I don't know what they're calling it now.
I used to be in my lectures. I used to do this interesting thing. I used to stand up to the right of the class and look to the left
Yeah.
and tell them I am standing up in 1970, looking forward into the future.
Yeah.
And everything you see in between 1975 and 1990, every calypso. In fact, I have a list of 200 calypsos with the name Soca in the title, all being called Soca. In other words, calypso or soca, no matter what they call it. And then I would go to the other end of the class and look the other way and say, I'm looking now at 2015, looking back in the past. And all that music is called calypso, no longer soca. So people seeing, I remember an incident in my classes in school, and I made the mention that Rose won the road march in 77, 78, and a very intelligent girl say, Rose used to sing soca? Because she couldn't understand how a kind of a road march is not soca. She grew up. No. So I tell them, if you look forward, you're seeing all this calypso called soca. You look backwards, you're seeing all this soca being called calypso. You ask a normal average person now, a young person, and say, what is sugar boom boom? That's a calypso. Because them know soca as party, my Marshall.
Yeah.
So to make the link, I mean, I know people that call it old school soca sometimes and that kind of thing, but to make the link, they're not making that link because they're linking what they know now in the last 50, 20 years.
Yeah.
And you go back to Super Blue, get something on the wave and think that is calypso as far as they're concerned because they don't fit into the concept what they know as soca.
Yeah.
Well, what we want to do over the next few weeks in the month is to see the progression of the music from where it started in the mid-70s, Maestro and Shorty and the fellas who came after, including Merchant and Shadow and even Kitchener. Shadow say he didn't want to mash up the soca train. Get involved in this thing. A lot of transformation, Pelham, over the years with the soca.
If I have a whole paper, and I'll send the music for next time, called The Battle for Soca. Right? Shorty on the rampage, and who soca it is.
The difference is now when we went back to Shorty and Maestro and all that, we had musicians playing music. No musicians is not playing music.
Okay.
Right? A guy is an engineer, he have a laptop, he have a microphone, he have a room, and he going to sample things and put it in his computer and call a singer to sing on top of it. He not playing nothing. The two guys who have the most hits in Trinidad as soca producers, they will go on an interview and say they know nothing about music. How you in a business making money in music business and you know nothing about music?
So Pelham, AI is threatening fellas like yourself then?
Yeah, it's AI and they pull samples. All the programs I have in my system, I have all those new samples and so on. But I don't use samples. Look, I arranged a tune for two brothers last week, right? And they sent it to Barbados, so he got to go and put on his voice, right? And I start from scratch, like how I know I was in the studio. The drums will song like this, the piano will song so, the bass will song so. But these guys who making the big hits in Trinidad, they know nothing about music and they boast about it. They are not players. They never play a keyboard. They never play a bass, a guitar, a drum, nothing.
Where is that leading us, Pelham?
I don't know nowhere. No, we are fast, must be.
You know, I'm happy that you asked that question, Tony. Where is it leading us? Because somebody introduced me to a song a while ago. We have a show on Sunday where we play classic songs, and I ask people to request their songs, and most people go back and they find all the classics of years gone by, the Etta James and all these different kinds of songs. And this guy requested one of this a song and asked me to play the song, and he didn't tell me anything about it, but it's an artist I never heard, but it's an old classic song and it's sounding like an old song, you know. And then after the show, I was asking, so I never heard about this artist, where this came from, but it's a nice song. And then he told me, he said, everything that you just heard there was computer generated, down to the voice, the music, everything. He said, and they even gave her a name that if you go searching for the name, you will not find the name.
You could put a voice, you could put background vocals, you could put brass, you could put.
It sounded so real. I mean, it down to even some of the old crackling, like you would get in some records and stuff. All that is there to it.
Samples.
So Pelham, to divert a little bit, you know, how do you see this thing going? This technology and music.
Well, there is a little hope because UTT teaches music. They have a music class in UTT. They have a music class in UE, right? But the people who graduate from those classes, they more tend to go to this PAN. A lot of new arrangers in PAN come from UE or UTT, right? But the people who are in studio production, right? They learn that there too, right? But they're not teaching them to play. Not players, you know.
Okay.
So we learning party, we learning all these tunes that are generated through sampling and piling different things together, tones. You know, and Toby playing drums, you know about nobody. That's what we have. And that is big carnival hits. And that's what the youth want to hear.
Do you feel concerned, frightened, perhaps?
Yeah, but that's how it is. The only thing they will tell me is our old school.
So fellas are stop learning the skills of the keyboard or the guitar or whatever else.
Yeah, they're playing those skills. They're playing no. You can get a good guitarist out of that, or good. Not in brass they want. They don't even want no brass. They go to after they go to perform, they might go by the police band, get about a few fellas, put them in the band, and say, but in the studio, brass people ain't playing. It's only people using live. That's why they go into Barbados by Red Boys in Barbados. Right, Barbados they use musicians to play for them. But in Trinidad, it's sample.
Wow. Maybe we're getting too sophisticated and we're forgetting the reality of the music and the music players.
A DJ, not a DJ, a very prominent radio personality tell me, Pelham Goddard is innovation and technician and technology. He kind of buff me at time. So I just cool. I know what So I will, when I go to play, if they call me to play, I play solo piano. I come up from learning my piano and learning my keyboard and stuff. And my music. As a writer, write brass, I study all of this. You know, and I keep on playing it.
In one program, we must bring you back to talk about Pelham as a steel band arranger, which is a different kind of thing.
These are different kettle of fish. Yeah. A different thing.
Chalo, let me get some music to go out.
Yeah. I see Zeno had something by Sundar Popo. So let me see if we can.
धीरे धीरे चलती है मधुरा के दुकान में दोनों जाके बैठे हैं नाना किने पंचिंदारू उतर जैसे पानी 40 वाइन और गिल्बी वाइन हरी रे मेरी नानी
West Indian Connection.
आगे आगे नाना चले नानी going behind Nana drinking white swan Nani drinking wine आगे आगे नाना चले नानी going behind Nana drinking white swan Nani drinking wine Nana riding bicycle, Nani ringing bells, Nani lucky hunger, they fall inside a well. Nana riding bicycle, Nani ringing bells, Nani lucky hunger, they fall inside a well. And Nana so damn careless, don't get Nani down. And the dog saying he asked boy, he hold on to iPhone. Again, Nana chale, Nani going behind. Nana drinking white wine, Nani drinking wine.
Yes, and that people there, Nana and Nani.
Pelham, have you ever played that kind of music?
I think I might have do something in the line of in the studio for some Californians with that that kind of tone. And Shorty record by me, Shorty record Respect Your Woman by me. And I do some of that for him. But what I like about that music is that there's always the melody behind the voice. That the euphonium playing the melody behind the voice.
Okay.
And then when you sing a line, when you sing 3 lines or 4 lines, there's a part of arrangement will come in. So I always like the Indian music. They well, I will say it well arranged.
Okay.
And they don't ever come to the studio with all the music arranged.
Right.
They don't come to try on nothing. They come and they rehearse and they come to the studio and always have the music well arranged.
Right. All right, gentlemen, we gotta go now. But just pushing ahead, and I'm sure that we're gonna have ask you fellas to come back again. Of course, Zeno will supply us with the music, but we want to explore the soca that came after Maestro and Shorty, and into the merchant era and so on. What are some of those arrangers? And of course, Pelham and David and all that. Has it been very different from the original, Pelham?
Well, for my band, when I do music for different people, and I never had Chuba Blues songing like David Rudder or Rudder songing like Sambu. You know, so I try to do different things all the time. But my soca was different. I would say over pop calypso too. You know, like I always had some different measures, and I had good musicians behind me too. You know, the Tony Fraser and the Julia Warwood and the Albert Bushes and the Bonnie Minards. You know, always are supportive. We listen to people like Earth, Wind and Fire, right? Blood, Sweat and Tears, and try to not get what they have, but write a song The song of the music. All different.
All right. A last word from you, Zeno.
Yeah, right. Well, just on that was to make the point that it is a heavy influence in the music in soca. Those Joka classics, Marajin Sister, Corita Banca. There's a whole line of things that came through there afterwards. That just making the point about that. That's why I included that one as a reminder that somewhere along the line in the soca thing, we like to call it chutney soca, but that is another term for it. We just give things to, but that influence was there also, even though. So that is it. So next time, I'll say is the Bachelor from Soca, because then we get into the merchant and the great Shadow and them, Mr. Argue who they belong to. Shadow have 3 calypsos actually, talking about how they rob him his glory as the pioneer / innovator of soca. All I for next time or the time after. So you go decide.
Wonderful. Thank you
I
very
don't want
much.
to say how honored to be here with Pelham, because I cast up with his shoes and come to music and knowing about him all the time and now get to meet him face to face. So thanks, Tony, and thanks, Pelham.
Okay, welcome.
I just write about Calypso. I can write to Calypso. I just
have to tax the brain.
I just write please.
Thank you, gentlemen. And next week we're going to have another program along the same lines, and I'll be in touch. Take care.
Okay. All right. Good.
All right. Thank you very much, Tony, and thank you very much to Pelham and Zeno, and thank you very much to all those who are locked on and listening. Keep it right here on the Era TT Radio.
A mere 4% of the population, a crude and violent administration, and over the years so much people they kill, and nobody cares how much black blood they spill. Over yonder, in a place called Rhodesia. Over yonder, in a place called Africa. Immorality